Good late evening, everybody. It is I on this April 17, 2018, and I just thought I would come out here and I've been kind of reminiscing and reflecting about online cloud storage and where it's come, where it is now, and where it should be going, in my personal opinion. So I thought I would come out here and make a small little audio video thingy rant video blog, I guess you could call it. Haven't done one of these in a while, so I was looking back and thinking back and trying to remember. I've been using online storage providers of various kinds for years. I think I started with Dropbox back in 2009, I'm pretty sure it was. And back then, Dropbox, I think they really were the first ones to show off how usable, uh, online storage and backup could be for the consumer. Of course, if you're a geek, you've always had the ability to, back up stuff to your own server and through any number of methods. But, to have a central provider that you could put all your stuff and just effortlessly have it available wherever you were with an internet connection, that I think Dropbox was the first one that really showed how possible that really was and made that known to the masses. And I still have Dropbox today. In fact, some of the original files that I put in my Dropbox back in 2009, I still have today. And that says something for the potential of online backup and online storage, really. Because you can have stuff on multiple devices potentially, and if one device, such as a computer, if it fails, you don't have to worry as much. Remember the old days of file backup and whatnot? You'd have to scramble for CDs or DVDs and hope that they were pristine, didn't have any scratches or anything on them, so that you could back up your stuff. I remember doing that, and then sometimes you'd be burning your stuff to CD or whatever, and you'd get an error, and you'd have to start all over. Oh, it was a pain. It was quite a pain to back up, uh, which is probably why a lot of people decided to just give up on it. Now it's fairly easy to do that. Um, now we have flash drives and thumb drives, and now, of course, online storage providers, which not only give you the ability to, have a peace of mind in the event that your computer crashes, but also you can have your audio or your video or whatever wherever you go. You want to watch your favorite TV show on the road, and you have it in your online storage. You can just pull up the app for your provider and bring it up, and there you go. Totally cool. Um, so online storage, definitely something I use. I have several accounts for different providers, and I put different things in each. And some stuff that I feel is very critical, I put in multiple providers. Um, like I have a NASA a documentary about NASA and its early manned spaceflight days, the golden age of spaceflight, and it's a 7 CD set. I've got that backed up in about 3 different providers, I believe, because if I lose that, it's going to be almost impossible to replace it. Because I actually found that on, I think I found that on Usenet years ago. Yeah, I wonder if that's still being used. Yeah, Usenet, remember that? Any of the geeks among my channel followers might remember doing stuff on Usenet. Maybe you can still do stuff there. I'll have to investigate that later. But talking about online storage providers, Dropbox was the first, and they offered 2 gig for free. That's it, and that's all they still offer for free. All these years later, that's still the only thing they offer for free. Most, if not all, other storage providers offer at least 5 gigabytes for free. So I don't know why Dropbox won't increase that, but they won't, and they haven't. Despite making quite a few changes to their paid plans. I think back in the original days of Dropbox, the highest plan you could get with Dropbox was 100 gig. I think they may have had a 50 gig option as well. I don't remember what all the storage tiers were back in those days. But I do remember there was a 100 gig plan, and I had it for a while. And that was the highest you could go. And then for the longest time, they offered 1 terabyte. They may have actually been the first of the providers to offer 1 terabyte of online storage. And that's a fair bit. That's a good amount, having a terabyte of storage. But in some cases, not all, but in some cases, that may not be enough. If you're a heavy user of videos, maybe you make a lot of videos, you want to keep a record of those, you want to keep them backed up, whatnot, want to be able to have access to them wherever you go. 1 terabyte may not quite be enough in some use cases. Some of the providers, not all, but some of them, seem to want to stay at 1 terabyte and not go any higher. Microsoft is one of them. Microsoft OneDrive. They, as long as I've known about them, actually, before they were OneDrive, they were SkyDrive. And I think then, talk about an interesting increase. I think in those days, I never used SkyDrive, but if I remember correctly, in the days of SkyDrive, the top tier you could get was 25 gigabytes. That was it, 25 gigabytes of online storage. And then OneDrive comes around, and suddenly 25 gigs became 1 terabyte. Yeah, you want to talk about an increase. I'm pretty sure that's what they did. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I'd love to know the history of pretty much all the storage providers and what their options were from the beginning till now, because I'm remembering Microsoft, and I want to say they literally went from a top tier of 25 gig to 1 terabyte, and that's where they've stayed. They haven't, even for their business customers, OneDrive for Business, which includes things like if you get a OneDrive account through your school, which I have done. I did that when they first offered it in 2015. You could get, at my school, you could get an Office 365 subscription. And I don't know how long I have that, but I got it in 2015, which was my last year at that college. And I still have the account today. And that gives me a terabyte of OneDrive storage for free for me. I mean, I'm sure the college pays for it. I don't know how much they pay, but Microsoft, so far as I could tell, does not offer anything above 1 terabyte for even their business customers. 1 terabyte seems to be all they want to do per account. So if you actually need more than that in one account, I think in the case of Microsoft, you're kind of screwed. And I'm not talking about, by the way, the advanced, what I call the advanced storage options that are like more for developers and stuff, like Microsoft Azure, Amazon S3, things like that. Amazon Glacier, Backblaze B2. Those are good storage options also if you're geeky and you know how to access those resources. But if you just want to have a dedicated client, be it on your computer or your web browser or your phone or whatever, you just want to be able to quickly store and retrieve files on demand from your storage provider of choice, then things like iCloud Drive and OneDrive and Dropbox are what you're looking for, and Google Drive also. Google Drive, just not forget them. Google Drive is another one that I have through my my school. Back in 2013, my school switched to Google for their email storage. Now, Google it's been interesting to watch them over the years. I remember when I've used Gmail from back when it was invite only. I don't remember how I got my invite, but I remember using it in, I believe, 2004, early 2005, I want to say. Sometime in '05, anyway. And at that time, I believe uh, the most storage you got. Now, granted, this was just for email, of course. Online storage hadn't really been thought of yet, but the geeks among us had thought of it. But you had 2 gigs of email storage, I believe. I think it was 2 gigs. Later on, it would go up to 7, and then later still, it would go up to 15, where it has remained pretty constant. As far as free storage goes, 15 gigs seems to be Google by far offering the most storage of anybody for free. And actually, I think they're the only ones that offer the paid storage tiers that they do, that I'll get into in a minute. But they have some pretty, back in the original Gmail days, Gmail was the place to go if you wanted email archives. In fact, that's what they touted themselves, never lose an email again, because you can keep your emails forever, even if you have attachments. And a lot of people were like, well, why not give us more? We could use, Google could have, G Drive. A lot of people, I think there actually was an app or an extension of some sort that was called G Drive, and you could put files into, basically, it would send an email attachment and send the files off in attachments. And I used to do that, not with G Drive, but I used to manually create, if I wanted to send myself larger files of more than the 20 or 25 megs, I would send, I would split the files up into chunks using something like WinRAR, and I would, send those along. And then, of course, if I wanted it later, I could pull down the attachments, the appropriate attachments therein, and piece the file back together, and I'd have my file. So that was, the very early thinkings of what would become Google Drive later. Google realized, hey, there could be something useful in this. So they offered Google Drive, and I don't remember what the original Google Drive specs were. I don't know if it started at for your top tier. I don't know if it's. I think 1 terabyte might have been the top tier, although I don't remember for sure. Might have only been 100 gigs actually. Again, I'd love to know the history of various storage providers and what they offered and when, from their beginnings up till now. Now, right now, Google does something really cool. You can get storage. You can get 100 gig, which I have. You can get a terabyte, which that's the last tier you can get, where you can pay by the year if you want. All the tiers above that are paid monthly, and the price reflects it, but you are dealing with a lot of data. You can actually, with Google, you can now get 2 terabytes, and then 10, 20, and 30 terabytes for you insane archival people, which who knows, maybe one day I might become one of those. But you definitely pay dearly for those options, but they are there. And to my knowledge, Google is the only provider that has offered and does offer storage higher than 2 terabytes, and it's one of the few that offers storage above 1 terabyte. Some of the providers are starting to do that, though. Dropbox. Let's go to Dropbox for a second. They, for the longest time, I didn't think we're going to offer anything above 1 terabyte for regular consumers. They have offered for some time tiers like above 1 terabyte for businesses, but that's a whole different game of people. It was your storage was based on your how many users you needed, and I think each user got its own amount of storage and yada yada. So it wasn't quite exactly having a total, I mean, a combined amount that you could use at once of more than a TB. But now they actually do offer plans like that for businesses. And even now for consumers, they've recently started to offer a 2 terabyte option. That only recently became, I didn't think they would ever offer a 2 TB storage option, but they are starting to offer that for the higher end consumers. 2 terabyte is finally an option. And in my personal opinion, this day and age, it's been about 4 years, I think, since the cloud storage revolution really kind of took off, and we got these higher storage tiers. Where 1 terabyte kind of became common and is still pretty common. And admittedly, 1 TB that's a fair bit of data. But if you're lucky enough in this country to have a decent internet connection, and you do like me, and you archive a lot of high quality files, be they video or high quality audio or whatever the case may be, and you archive a lot of large files, you may end up hitting your 1 terabyte limit. I know on my Google Drive school account that I have, I've got all kinds of stuff stored in there, various audio archives and images, various disk images and things like that in there. I've actually got about 1.8 terabytes in my Google college account that I've had since my college went to Gmail. Now, what they've done for that is they actually, when they first rolled it out, students got 25 gig for storage. And then a while later, education users got an upgrade to what they call unlimited. And I actually got to see what that actually was, because, unlimited isn't really totally unlimited. Just try to use it as that and you'll see that. But one time in my app, in my actual Google Drive app, I did get to see how much storage I actually had in my school account, and it was 10 terabytes. It was 10,261 gigabytes. Now, if you look at it, it does say unlimited, but the chances of me hitting 10 TB right now are slim to none, even with all the data I have in there. Getting to that, it's nice that it's there, though. I mean, like I said, Google, I think, is the leader in terms of storage offerings for the consumer and education market. So right now, I just remain under the assumption that 10 TB is my official limit, even though it does say unlimited. Because 10 TB, it's going to be a fair bit before I get there. But basically, that's a $100 a month value that I'm getting there for free. That's pretty cool. I don't know what my college is paying for that, but I do like that I have at least that much storage in my Google college account. Now, for my personal account, I have 100 gig, and I'm about 68% using that. So I'm probably going to be upgrading that tier in the somewhat near future, because I do have some radio show archives of a friend's internet show, some historical archives that I keep over there, as well as the new version of that same show. I keep it up to date, and I store the archives up in my Google Drive so I can get to them whenever I might want them. And then I have my Microsoft account. I have a personal Microsoft account and a school account. Now, Microsoft, they offer 1 terabyte only, no matter whether you're a personal consumer or, if you're a personal or business user, you're still only going to get 1 terabyte, although your business experience is going to be way different. you're going to have access to things like SharePoint, be able to do websites, I guess, and stuff like that. I haven't even messed with all of it. But if you just want to store files and get at them, you can obviously still do that. That's like the basic thing you can do. But you still only get 1 terabyte. So if you're dealing with lots of videos, especially if you're doing HD, 4K video, that kind of thing, and you want to keep archives of that stuff, you may run into a barrier there, because once you get to 1 terabyte, so far as I know, at least as of right now, April 2018, Microsoft has not ever offered any option above 1 terabyte. And if you're of the more advanced type and you want to use things like Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud or Backblaze B2 or Amazon S3, things like that, and if you know how to do that, then yeah, you could get above 1 terabyte if you need to. But I'm just talking about the basic consumer here. The consumer that just wants to be able to easily, as I do, be able to archive their files. 1 terabyte seemed like a good top tier for a provider 4 years ago. But now that many areas are getting faster internet connections, and though the upload is creeping up, upload speeds have kind of not gone up as fast as download speeds over the same amount of time. That's basically because all the ISPs, even in the major cities, most of them refuse to upgrade everybody to fiber, but that's a topic for another time. In my opinion, at the very least, major cities by now should have fiber optic internet options. But that's a topic for another time, perhaps. But unlike even with like your cable providers will traditionally be your fastest in most areas for consumers, and those uploads have come up slowly. You can now get around 25 megabits up generally for uploading, and that's what's important when you want to upload your content to storage providers, cloud providers. Having 2 terabytes as a top tier option might not be a bad idea. Now, some providers are starting to do that. Like I said, Google certainly does it now. In fact, for a while, it was interesting. They went from 1 terabyte was the top tier, unless you wanted to pay hefty. It went from 1 terabyte all the way up to your insane storage options of 10, 20, and 30 TB, which are still available. You can still get those and pay accordingly. But you now have a 2 terabyte monthly option that you can pay for on Google Drive if you want. 1 TB is still the top tier you can pay for on an annual basis. Everything else above that is monthly, but you can pay for 2 TB monthly if you want it. And points above that. Apple, now this actually surprised me. Apple, they quietly did this. Apple and their iCloud Drive, let's see, I'm trying to think. When iCloud Drive first came out, the top tier was, well, I know when iCloud itself first came out, the top tier was, I think, was 50 gig. And then it went up to, was it 100? I mean, and then when iCloud Drive came out, what was it, 500 gig? Somebody can tell me what the storage options were in the early days, but 1 terabyte was the top tier. And I thought for the longest time that Apple and Microsoft were going to be the two folks that would stay at 1 terabyte forever. And then surprisingly, Apple quietly rolled out a 2 terabyte option. In fact, what they did is they lowered their pricing slightly, and they actually took away the 1 terabyte option. So you have, right now your options are, of course, 5 gig for free, and then you go 50 gig, which is what I currently have, and I'm using about half of it right now, That's 99 cents. And then you go to 200 gig, and then you jump up. You do a massive jump. I think 200 gig is like $3. And then you jump up to 2 terabytes. These are all monthly prices, by the way. 2 terabytes is $20, I believe. But there is no more 1 terabyte option. Oh, they might have a 500 gig option. I'll have to double check that. They might. I don't remember. It may go from 200 to 2 TB though. I'll have to double check that. But that's an incredible jump. You go from 5 to 50. That's a pretty good jump. 50 to 200. And then 200 to, I want to say 2 TB. You totally skip over the 1 TB that's traditionally the top mark for most of your other providers. And all the other providers still offer 1 TB. Dropbox, I think that's where they prefer you be at, but you can upgrade now without being a business consumer, I believe. Microsoft, they are the only ones that seem to want to stagnate right now. OneDrive, sadly, if you need or want more than 1 TB on OneDrive, and it doesn't matter whether you're consumer or business, you're stuck at 1 TB. And if you need combined more than that, you pretty much have to create multiple accounts, which I think they should have the option per account, so you don't have to keep going between accounts to get to your files. They should have a 2 TB option. That's just my opinion, because pretty much I think all the others at least have the option now. I mean, OneDrive does not, but Dropbox now does. They were the only other one that I thought never would for consumers, and they finally do. 2 TB. And then if you need more than that with Dropbox, you can get Dropbox for Business, which gives you pretty much whatever you need in a whole lot different interface. And much like what happens with OneDrive, you get a whole different interface as well for checking your storage and all the other features you get with a business account. And of course, I can play with that because I have my college account with OneDrive, so I have 1 TB there. I'm hoping one day that'll increase. Just, not that I need it right now, but just, progress, man, progress. I mean, Microsoft, the way they're going right now, they might as well still be offering 25 gigabytes. Connections are getting faster, thus more data will be able to be stored. And as we deal with HD video and things like that, we're going to want to archive that, much like a lot of us archive music now. So we're going to want to be able to have more off-site storage. So I think more storage should at least be an option. Those that are willing to pay will do so. And the fact that the option isn't even being offered in the case of Microsoft kind of surprises me. Dropbox, I would have said the same thing, but they finally offered it. So, and then of course Google, they are by far the leader in terms of storage, what you can get. Even at the personal level, there's no question, and probably even at the business level. But at the personal level, you can get a nice chunk of storage from Google, including 2 TB, for a decent price. Apple, like I said, they totally did away with their 1 TB option. They just said, here, let's go straight to 2. So what was 1 TB is now 2 TB, priced at, I believe, $20 a month, which is not bad. So if you need to put videos in your iCloud along with your devices and backups and stuff, there you go. There's your. They're doing it right. I like that. They surprised me when they did that, because I didn't think they would do that, because they're not. I mean, you can't share. Like most of these other services, I could if I needed to, I could put a link out there and give it to someone and say, here, download this file. They could download it from my server, Google Drive or OneDrive, Dropbox. But iCloud, that's not a feature that they ever have offered, but I guess they definitely realize the value of storage, so they offer 2 TB. I'm hoping Microsoft will do that one day and realize that some users might actually need more than a terabyte. At the very least, they could start off with their business customers and then go uh, down to the consumer from there. Now, all that being said, I mean, 1 terabyte, even with a good internet connection, it's a good chunk of data. 1 TB, I could fill that up. I have a Dropbox that I need to actually renew its subscription yearly because they do offer, their 1 terabyte option for a year for, I think it's 99. It's either 99 or $100. I forget which. I think it's 99. And that I've got in my Dropbox, I think I'm using about a little over half of it right now. But I've got TV shows in there. I've got space shuttle archives. I've got a whole thing of radio show countdowns and just various things that I've put in my Dropbox over the years. So I've definitely put my Dropbox storage to use. Right now, my personal OneDrive is actually completely empty. But I have 5 gigs there, and I don't know if I'll upgrade that or not. But I do have my college OneDrive, which is a terabyte, for however long I have that. And then I have my personal Google at 100 gig, and of course, my Apple iCloud, which I'm paying for the 50 gig option there. But I may upgrade that in the future. So yeah, that's just a look at storage providers. My thoughts on the current state of storage, where it's gone, where I'd like to see it go, and where it is now. It's nice to see most providers beginning to offer higher than 1 TB, and hopefully Microsoft will follow suit one day, because it does come in handy when you want to archive large bits of data. Let's say, that's not just something businesses do anymore. We have videos, and high quality videos at that we don't want to have to just store on flash drives that could get lost. So yeah, all kinds of different options out there, and it's reassuring. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that I lost a whole bunch of data due to 2 hard drive failures in a matter of 6 months. And at that time, I didn't have all the storage options that I do now. So, going forward, I shouldn't lose. I mean, any data that I've put into things like Dropbox and whatnot, if I want it there, I still have it today. So that's a good thing. So hopefully, we'll see the expansion of storage offerings in the coming years as more of our work becomes seamless between doing it locally and doing it off-site, or a combined version of the two. Take care, everybody, and happy archiving, backing up, and storing of your various files in whatever service you choose to use, or services in the case of me. Take care.